Hi, this is Zena Awesome. So today's going to be a long video. I have quite a few topics I want to cover. So first I'm going to give a little bit of background that Friday I was jogging in the yard, and both my calves I had extreme pain, and it wasn't just a cramp, it was some type of injury or something. So that really sucked because I could barely walk, and all night it was really tough to walk. And fortunately on Saturday the pain started to decrease, and now it's kind of just like a sore muscle, what you'd expect. The other thing is yesterday I just felt totally exhausted. I actually even took a 2-hour nap in the middle of the day, and then last night I was still really exhausted. So what I'm going to be looking at is, first of all, what caused the jogging injury, and then what I'm going to do to try to prevent that from happening. And then I'm going to go into why I was so tired yesterday, or what I think might have been happening, and again, what I'm going to try to do to combat that. And then I've decided to go on a particular direction of my diet, because right now I'm listening to the Food Revolution Summit, and today's topic was on cancer prevention, and I just don't think that the diet that my doctor wants me on is going to really, it may help alleviate symptoms, but I don't think it's going to really help my health. And so I'm going to go into what strategy I'm going to try to take, and that I'm going to be trying to forge ahead a little bit on my own. So the first thing I want to talk about is the jogging. Now, just so I'm clear, although I was trying to do some jogging, that I am not like trying to be overly, in my opinion, overly exercising. My goal is to try to just get over the 10,000 steps a day, which is what's generally recognized, and you know, the Fitbit follows that recommendation. And before my husband got sick, I regularly had more than 10,000 steps a day, taking care of the farm animals and everything. So it's nothing new. It's not outrageous number, and so I don't think I am trying to set my goal too high. So I went online to see what types of things can cause that type of injury, and one of the culprits can be dehydration, another can be using the wrong type of shoe, another's the wrong stride, also not stretching or warming up, doing too much. And I looked at each of these things, and it's probably for me a combination of everything. I probably was a little bit dehydrated. I don't think I was super dehydrated, because drinking fluids is actually on my to-do list type thing that I'm tracking and making sure I get plenty of fluids, because with my digestional problems it is super easy for me to get dehydrated. But it has just gotten hotter. So with it having gotten hotter, I could be sweating more, and I'm not necessarily compensating properly. So I'm going to be ensuring that I drink extra fluids on top of what I've been drinking, and make sure I get a bunch in the morning before I start actually exercising. The other thing is, you know, I prefer walking barefoot. I've talked about this before. So I was using my skelly toes to try to do jogging, and although I think in the future I might get to that, I do wear orthopedic shoes. So I think for the short time at least that I should stick to wearing my orthopedic shoes for jogging, and that provides my ankle support, and it's what I'm used to walking in when I wear shoes. So at this point in time, that's probably a better route to go. As far as the proper jogging style, I do think I was not taking as extended steps as I probably should, and So now I am paying more attention to foot placement and the body placement, and I'm trying to make sure I take nice, long, more natural strides and not choppy strides. Part of the problem can be that my ground isn't level, so I am doing ups and downs. I mean, not hills or anything, but it's uneven ground. So it's not flat ground. So I am putting different stress. But since it happened to both calves, I don't think that it was where I actually, Piggy, enough, where I actually, just stepped in one spot wrong. So, and as far as warming up goes, I don't think that is a problem because I didn't actually have problems. I did 3 laps, and it was my 4th lap that suddenly I got the sharp pain in both my calves. So I don't think that it had to do with stretching or warming up per se, but what I am doing right now to make sure that that's not the case is I walk a lap before I jog a lap. And then if I was overdoing it because I am more out of shape than I realized, I am limiting when I do a lap to only doing 1 jogging lap at any given time. So with all these things, hopefully I won't have another painful injury. That was actually almost, I'm not going to say scary. I was worried that I actually had hurt something. When I say hurt something, I mean, need to see the doctor hurt something. But it does seem to be clearing on its own, so that's good. Now I'm just down to just feeling sore. So that's great. But I want to continue to go outside, and of course I mentioned that I want the jogging for the pounding on my legs to help with my hip bones. But the other thing about going outside is that sunlight is great for providing vitamin D. And at this time I am on a lot of vitamin D supplements, and I just had my vitamin D checked when I was in the hospital 3 weeks ago. And my vitamin D is at an adequate level. I think it was 42, and that's good. But I take 5,000 every morning, and then 3 or 4 times a week I take an extra 5,000. So I am taking a lot of vitamin D, and of course, and I take calcium 3 times a day, which has vitamin D. And I take 2 multivitamins a day, which have vitamin D. And I'm still just being okay. I'm nowhere near being high or outrageously high. I'm still down. If you have osteoporosis, I believe the number you need to be at is over 40. Whereas if you don't, the number's just over 30. And it's not considered toxic, I don't think, until you get over 100 and something. So I'm nowhere near having toxic levels, because they start saying, because you can, vitamin D, because is one of those vitamins you can take too much of, so you got to be careful about how much you take. But there is a different, well, I would assume almost everything is this way, that there's a different molecule of vitamin D produced from the body than when you take a supplement. So I want to give my body the opportunity to try to produce its own vitamin D, and in order to do that, you got to go in the sun. So part of getting outside is getting outside and getting sunlight. And now one of the things that the Food Revolution Summit that they talked about is also that being outside, just breathing outside, that helps also promote diverse gut biome, which I need a diverse gut biome. So hopefully the jogging is going to help with that too, as you breathe in all the things, we'll say, that are outside. We tend to not want to think about all the bacteria and fungi that we're breathing in, but not all of them are bad. A lot of them are good. So today I did pretty well, I think. I've been able to do jogging Oh, the other thing is I also try to use my Fitbit to get at least the 250 steps every hour. The goal being that by moving that you're helping keep your blood sugar levels more even and all that. So the next topic that I want to talk about is why I was so tired yesterday. And I am thinking that from my past experience, that the most likely reason I was so tired yesterday is basically I'm just not eating enough food, not enough calories. I'm increasing my activity level, and the more active I am, the less hungry I am. And then I've been sticking to the FODMAP diet and trying to do blenderized things, and it's just, and then I had the small obstruction. I mean, like I said, it was just a minor partial, but I had that earlier in the week. So now I'm a little nervous about eating some of the stuff I already have prepared. So that doesn't help with giving me enough energy to run or to do things or to do anything. And the reason I'm so familiar with this is, well, depending on whether you've watched some of my previous videos, is back in 2012, after I had that major surgery, that even though I was eating 3,000 calories a day, all the food passed through me, and between November and March, I went from 125 pounds down to 95 pounds. And so I am very aware of what it feels like when you just really don't have any fuel in the bucket. And I even remember talking about this or experiencing this in the past, that I can push through and do a certain level of activity, but then I'm going to have to pay for it. How do I remember that? I talked about horseback riding, and when I would walk people horseback riding, that there were times when I was on the IV nutrition that I would take somebody for a ride and have to walk for that hour, and when I got back, I couldn't even put the horse up. I would call my husband as I was walking back to the farm and say, "Look, honey, when I get there, I have to hit the bed, I have to lay down, I cannot do anything else. You'll have to take the saddles off and put the horses up, or the horse up. I can't do it. I am totally drained." And then I would be totally drained for the next day too. So I've been there. I haven't been there in years, because this would have been, like I said, the surgery was in 2012, so this would have been 2013. So it was quite a few years ago, but yes, there was many times where I just couldn't do something, and I would literally lay down on the ground going, "Well, just give me 5 minutes, I'll get my energy." And 5 minutes later, I still have no energy, and I just would have to literally give up. And it's not giving up, it's because if I push through, it's just going to make it worse and worse, because my reserves are really gone. And if I keep pushing through the reserves, then I'm going to be forcing my body to probably digest muscle and other things that's just not good for you. So I really have to acknowledge my limitations. Of course, on the flip side, what I want to do is try to prevent those limitations. So that is what I think happened yesterday. It could have been made a little bit worse because I was trying to cut down a little on the amount of sugar that I intake. I've been kind of intaking a little bit of sugar all day long, and that's probably been giving me a little bit of fuel all day. And yesterday I didn't drink as much coffee. I think caffeine helps me. Over the years, I've often used that as a crutch to be able to be active, because sometimes I literally, again, I have used up all my regular energy and I'm just working on fumes, and the caffeine can give me that boost to go a little bit longer. And I know when I'm really doing that, I know I've done it, that I have overstretched my body, because if I'm healthy, then caffeine will keep me from sleeping. But if I am just totally worn out and the caffeine is just giving me enough energy to get by, then it doesn't prevent me from sleeping. I can sleep just fine even with the dose of caffeine. So I've kind of seen caffeine work both ways for me. And then the last thing I wrote down is dehydration can decrease your energy. But I was really drinking well yesterday, so I don't think it was dehydration that was making me so tired. So again, I think the biggest problem was I just am not eating, I say eating enough, not getting enough calories in my body. And I know most people, that's opposite problem they have. But, you know, if you're not hungry, it can be hard to eat. And then when you're not hungry and then what you have as a choice just doesn't seem very appetizing, and you rather just not eat than eat that less appetizing thing, it can be very easy to do. Now I have to acknowledge that that's the problem so that I can overcome that problem. Otherwise it's just one of those things you just kind of passively do. And I am trying not to just passively damage my body. Now, after listening to the presenters today about food and how it's linked to preventing cancer, and I do believe our bodies are basically chemical machines. So it's a lot of the micronutrients that we don't understand that drive a lot of the processes in our bodies. And there's more and more evidence to support that the proper foods cause gene switches to be turned on or turned off to reduce cancer or reduce or to help your body have a better ability to fight cancer by the number of, say, your white blood cells it makes and the types. And they're getting down to the genetics of a lot of these things. And food, and not just the food you eat, but your biome, your microbes that you have in your gut also contribute to these switches. So not only are you feeding yourself, you're also feeding all those bacteria and fungi and everything that are also in your gut that help do a lot of really important things. And because of that, I don't think that the low FODMAP diet is going to put me where I want to be, because in one of the things that one of the doctors was talking about was of the five main foods for fighting cancer was beans, mushrooms, greens, onions, and berries. I say onions, the whole onion family. And well, right now I've cut out the whole onion family. I've cut out the whole bean family. And I'm very limited on greens. I'm very limited on mushrooms, and I'm very limited on berries. There's no way that I can, and of course the low FODMAP diet is never intended as a permanent diet because it is not nutritionally sound. It is a tool to figure out what your body is having problems with. Well, and then on top of that, I also of course have problems with my small bowel obstructions. So I've got to come up with a plan that is going to give me the nutrition I need to be able to exercise, think straight, and thrive, and not make me sick, and of course not cause obstructions. Kind of a tough road to haul. So the good thing is that part of what's excluded would be, of course, the gluten and the dairy from the low FODMAP. So I can probably use that, continue with that side of things. And I'm thinking that I may go kind of the weird direction of going back to, say, juicing, and then I'm going to say the smoothie type drinks. I think that if I could get my stuff in a quote-unquote, not just blenderized, because to me blenderized isn't quite as fine as, say, smoothie, that I'm going to be able to get all my nutrients in, be able to pretty much drink most of my nutrients, and adjust them in such a way that I get the variety of micronutrients I need without hopefully upsetting my gut as much as it seems to be getting upset. Because unfortunately, of course, food passes through me too quickly, that if that happens, then I'm not digesting what I'm eating. So that doesn't help me get nutrition and get everything either. So I think I have enough tools. I'm going to give it some thought first. And then, as I was mentioning, that you need to cook your beans and mushrooms, but raw should be your greens, your onions, and your berries for the best benefit. And with mushrooms, they said even just button mushrooms, all you need, and this was to help prevent breast cancer, was 10 grams of mushroom a day. That's not a lot. And I think that I can come up with a plan myself to be able to incorporate all these things and adjust stuff up and down. It's not going to be easy. And I don't know that it will be completely symptom-free. But if I go to liquids, that should help with obstructions. And also, you can just use a little bit. You know, it's a little bit harder when you're cooking to use a little bit of something. For example, I just read an article the day before yesterday, low FODMAP, you can eat apples. And they listed 2 types of apples. I believe it was Fuji and maybe the Granny Smith. I don't remember. But it was 2 apples they listed. But they talked about you only getting, I believe it was 20 grams. Which, as they said, was the equivalent of a little bit of chopped apple or either 3 really skinny slices or 2 slightly larger slices. And if you actually looked at it, you're probably talking about a quarter of an apple as a serving. And I was like, you know, I mean, I know that's better than nothing, but I just don't see that the low FODMAP is going to get me where I want to go. I'm not going to be able to get the energy I need, the nutrition I need, and I want to start something that hopefully will work for me. Now, I'm not going to start it right away. I'm going to give myself probably about a week or 2 to think about it, and then I'm going to come up with a strategy and what I'm going to buy to make my stuff. And I have already decided that if doing this works, then I will absolutely invest in a freeze dryer so that I can basically powderize my beverages so that I can travel and do whatever I need to do, and all I'll need to do is add water to my pre-mixed stuff that I have custom made for myself and stay healthy. So that's long-term plan, if I can find the right combination of stuff that I can tolerate, and it has to be palatable enough. And for me, it's not even just palatability. There's just some things that I'm going to say that my body doesn't want, and I notice those because I just won't eat them. I'll make them, it'll sit there, and I won't eat it, even though I made it. And if that happens with this, well, what I'm hoping is I can keep adjusting and keep adjusting until I find mixtures that I will eat and make me feel good. So this is of course going to be a lot of trial and error. So, and of course a lot of dedication. But part of what I'm trying to do is not just quote unquote find my purpose in life, you know, move forward, make money, all that stuff, is I really want to focus in on my physical health as well, which is of course is the nutrition and the exercise, and of course I'm always working on staying positive. I tend to be a positive person, but I want to pull all these things together, and I really feel at this point I need to work a lot more on me right now, because I have to fix me or get me in a good spot before I can start doing other things. Because a lot of these like this eating pattern I'm talking about, without preparation, this is not something that's conducive to, say, a traveling lifestyle. I have to make plans and preparations ahead of time so that if I want to, which I do, I want to, although Cedar Breaks may have canceled their volunteering program, that doesn't mean I can't go up there and camp for 2 weeks. Well, if I go up there and camp for 2 weeks, I need to be sure that while I'm there, that I can still maintain the diet that I'm trying to maintain. And I'm hoping that if I find the right fit, that I'll want to stick to it, and I have to come up with methods to make that possible. So that's where the freeze drying comes in, because if I'm involving a lot of fruits and veggies, which is the plan, is lots of fruits and veggies, and using what I want to go more away from meat. I'm not going to say that I'm going to get rid of meat completely, but my goal is to try to get away from meat completely, but that's not 100% guaranteed. So, but if I do, then I'm going to need to get all my proteins and everything else from this diet, and it's going to be pretty complicated, and if you don't do it right, it's not going to be nutritious. So in order for it to be sustainable, I have to got it working, and then I have to have a way for it to travel. And one of my biggest challenges that I've had with fruits and veggies is, of course, that they're very perishable, and they're hard to get fresh. You know, I mean, buy them and then they sit in your fridge, and they're losing nutrition as they sit there. With freeze drying, they say that food maintains 90 to 95% of its nutritional value. So that's why I'm looking at freeze drying. So let's see, so I think that I have a general plan. I'm really excited about how things have been going. I've had a few setbacks, but I am cautiously optimistic going forward that I'm going to figure these things out. And probably the reason why today, with the talk about preventing cancer, is, you know, my husband, of course, he died from brain cancer, glioblastoma. My mom died from pancreatic cancer. My mom died on her 71st birthday. She was diagnosed in November, and she died in July. This would have been July 2014. So she didn't live very long after her diagnosis. There's not a lot of treatments for pancreatic cancer. She was an active senior. She went bowling. She participated with her community. She was she had a part-time job, she was going on vacations, and the cancer came, and obviously it killed her. And so cancer is kind of forefront in my mind, and I'd like to do everything I can to try to prevent it. So hopefully I've provided you all with something interesting to think about, and I hope you continue to follow me on my voyage. Thank you.